I'd love to see Joe Biden give an interview where he can speak on the history of the United States in the same way that Putin talked about the history of his country.
I'd love to see Biden do an interview where he shows how to operate a microwave, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Is he the real deal? Is he really a conservative? So Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback, Pro Bowler, MVP, Super Bowl champion, formerly Green Bay Packer, now he's a New York Jet. It seemed like he was getting kind of red-pilled during COVID, right? But you can never tell exactly, how red-pilled are these guys? Is he really a conservative? Maybe he just doesn't like the vaccine. And a lot of people are skeptical about the vaccine and Fauci and stuff like that. I mean, like Glenn Greenwald, by all intents and purposes, got red-pilled too. But trust me, he's not a conservative. He's a socialist. He's a full-on left-winger. So just because we agree on a couple of things, that doesn't mean he's on my team, right? We just agree on a couple of things, which is fine for as far as it goes. So what about Aaron Rodgers? I mean, is he the real deal? Is he really a conservative? Well, you be the judge. We'll show you a couple of clips here from a recent interview with Tucker Carlson. I mean, just the fact that he sat down for an interview with Tucker Carlson tells you something, but then again, so did Chris Cuomo, so that doesn't tell you everything. But take a look at Aaron Rodgers.
I'd love to see Joe Biden give an interview where he can speak on the history of the United States in the same way that Putin talked about the history of his country.
I'd love to see Biden do an interview where he shows how to operate a microwave, and I don't think that's going to happen. But the idea that you shouldn't be allowed to do that is so crazy to me. I'm just not going to submit to that.
Being canceled by the people who have just bowed down and given interviews from their knees to the Zelenskys of the world.
Gargling as they interview, yes.
It's wild. As this guy comes over in an outfit you'd wear to the store on a Sunday morning to ask the Congress for another $100 billion is wild.
He looks like he's going to be in the, Village People music video. I mean, it's insane. The whole thing is
insane.
You do sort of wonder that and a million other things going on right now. You wonder if they're sort of seeing how far they can push the population until someone starts laughing. Are you joking?
It feels like that sometimes. What if we did this? Is anybody going to give a shit? No? Okay. Well, okay. Now let's try this one here. We're going to put Joe Biden up and do this. Wait, what? This guy who can't even walk over here? His pants every now and then?
We're good. Then we're going to pick the single dumbest but most self-confident person in the entire nation of 350 million people and make her White House press secretary. And you have to deal with this every day on your television.
Are they going to make me a Jets fan all of a sudden? Don't do this to me. What's going to happen when the season starts and Aaron Rodgers is back in uniform again? If he ever comes back. This is serious, man. Pro athletes don't do this. They're not allowed to. Oh, they're allowed to get political. They're allowed to get real mouthy with their beliefs, but only in one direction. You don't see criticism of a Democrat like this. Now, he'll argue, hey, I'm just criticizing the culture at large. I'm just using Biden as an example. But no, I don't even think he'll make that argument. You know what's really remarkable about all this? Aaron Rodgers graduated from Berkeley. UC Berkeley. Something tells me he's either come of age politically over the last several years, or he really kept his politics to himself for a while. Dirty little secret here, and Rush Limbaugh used to talk about it a lot, and I can confirm it from my own firsthand experience. Pro football players, by a extreme factor, are conservative. A giant percentage of pro football players are conservative. And I'm talking about every race. I mean, it's mostly black people or white people who play professional football. So I don't know why I had to say every race. They're all conservative. They have an incredible work ethic. They work in a sport that is singularly focused on you work hard and it pays off. And if you don't, you're a liability. And you get there by your merit. None of this DEI equity crap there, right? What happened the one time they made a big deal out of drafting an openly gay guy for the Rams? Remember that? Michael Sams? He never even made it to a game. Not because they're homophobic, not because they don't like gay people, because he wasn't a good player. They don't care whether you're gay or not. They care about whether you work hard and whether you're good. Because if you fail to do your job in football, someone's going to get their neck broken. It's funny how that brings out the meritorious rewards from somebody who judges an individual not based on their color or their political beliefs or their religion or their sexual proclivities. No, you're judged on how hard you work and whether you get the job done. That's a conservative value. They're also, for the most part, pretty wealthy, and they don't like paying taxes. They also, most of them, have a deep abiding faith in God. There's a lot of prayers in an NFL locker room. There's a lot of prayers on the field. And it's not just empty shows of faith. It's the real deal. Because they know that they are one tragic accident away from losing everything or dying. And that puts you in touch with your maker in a pretty serious way when that's your reality every single day. All that discipline, all that hard work, all of that focus on merit and achievement and God sounds pretty conservative to me, doesn't it to you? Yeah, I've seen it myself because I've been around a pro football team for the last several years. And you can see it from the players, you can see it from the coaches. It's real. That's the dirty little secret. The NFL actually is very conservative. That's why the Colin Kaepernick thing hurts so much. Because the idiot who is the commissioner of the NFL, he's not a player. He's not from the middle of the country. He's on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. They should move the NFL headquarters to Canton, Ohio, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, so that the people who work there are actually from the middle of the country, not the Upper West Side of Manhattan. They'll better reflect the fan base, and they'll definitely better reflect the actual players. But you had a few loudmouth jerks like Colin Kaepernick who started to inject race into a game that everybody loved. And then the idiots up in Manhattan decided that that was the cool thing to do too. And so they embraced it. And the actual players hated it. Most of them. But just like you, at your business, your workplace, your school, just like you in your neighborhood or on your Facebook page or whatever social gatherings you have, sometimes even in your church, just like you, those players in the NFL knew that if they spoke out, that would be very hard for them. It would hurt them. But now maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to change that a little bit. That's why it's so remarkable to me to see him saying the things that he's saying. Do you want more? Let's watch more. Here's more Aaron Rodgers with Tucker Carlson.
Would you be shocked to learn that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself?
No. I mean, how many Jeffrey Epstein type people are out there?
Well, that's right.
That's the real question.
You mean people who've been killed, or people who are using sex as a blackmail tool?
That.
Yep.
And then who's pulling the strings on that?
Any guesses?
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell has a lot of ties to the Mossad.
Yep.
That would make sense. I mean, Jeffrey didn't seem to get some of the appointments he was given in prominence based on merit. Somebody was putting him in the right spots. But I don't think he's the only one. I think there's a problem, a weird, bizarre problem, really, that has a weird sex component to it with some of the elites, and there's a pedophile component to it as well, which is really sick. And there's, some prominent figures, who are in the spotlight as of late. I would like that to be exposed. But Jeffrey Epstein had the goods on everybody. So there were a lot of people that didn't want him to be alive. And then the whole, wild story around, multiple people being asleep and, him not being watched at the time is real convenient. And I just don't believe in that many coincidences.
No. He was murdered in federal detention in Manhattan. I don't think there's any question about that. And people lied about it, including the then Attorney General of the United States.
I think there's some weird correlations between and anomalies that, the Johnny Depp trial had eyes on it, crazy coverage, and the Ghislaine Maxwell trial had next to no coverage, no TV coverage, no nightly commentary about it, no traffic to nobody. I mean, they literally she is indicted for trafficking kids, and nobody who she was trafficking kids to got indicted
or named.
Yeah. And all the files that are out there still haven't been released. We have one testimony from one victim. That's all we have. When that came out, it was just literally like one victim. And there's hundreds of just in that little who flew on the Lolita Express. And there's a lot of super prominent names who are on the flight logs.
What's the sex thing about? I mean, you've been in famous guy world for a long time, and you're from, like me, you're from California. So obviously you've been around well-known cultural figures, the elites. How long have you thought that sex plays a role?
Well, not that long. I mean, I've just kind of, I've seen some interesting things.
I bet you have.
Been around some interesting parties and gatherings that are strange. Not anything like what it sounds like, a Diddy party. But just even at, an Oscar party, just seeing how some of these people act was always a little bit strange. I just never resonated with it. It was almost like interesting people watching, but there always seemed like there was parties within the party, people kind of doing their own thing. That always kind of weirded me out a little bit, but getting into conspiracy stuff, then about secret society stuff and like stuff like the Bohemian Grove.
Yes. And
what Nixon said about the Bohemian Grove. And
what did he say?
You have to go look at his quote. His quote is not exactly, there's some.
I think he said something like that. They're all gay, right?
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
That's basically what he said.
Yeah.
And the secrecy around that, and that's not the only secret society. There's a lot of really interesting secret societies, not just like the Skull and Bones at Yale, which has produced all those presidents, and the Freemasonry at its highest level. And there is a sexual component, I think, to a lot of that. Obviously, with Epstein, it was blackmail to get them to do what they want. I mean, how many people are compromised by that are in positions of power today?
Yeah,
I think you're naive to think it's none. And you said it on the podcast with Joe. The scary part for those people is that, and for us, is they could, put some on your computer to cancel you. They could set you up for something.
Oh, of course.
All right. There's more to this interview, and it's worth seeing. You should go check it out over there at Tucker Carlson's feed. But it's a great conversation. And Aaron Rodgers he's not exactly what you all think he might be. No matter what you think of him, he's an independent thinker. And that's a very dangerous thing in this society, at least to the American political left. It is. And that's why I'm starting to like the guy, even though he's a jet and a cheesehead and a Berkeley Bear. God, play for a good team, for crying out loud.